What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And it is the Season 2 finale, which is unfortunately sad, but the ending of one season comes the beginning of another. So, on the menu tonight, we have the recap of the Atlanta Open of the first AVP event. Which teams impressed and which teams came out on top. Also, the NCAA women's volleyball season is just around the corner. Which matches are that of worthy of preview, and which exhibition match am I going to this weekend? And what about the top 25 coaches poll? Like, who's on top and who is currently on the bottom of the top 25? Also, we have a preview of the Manhattan Beach Open when it comes to the AVP, as I might be going to that. Who knows? I might even do a vlog, because that's pretty much the closest I'll be getting to watching some live beach volleyball. All that and more here on Set Point. So set up the net, hand me a volleyball, because I'm about to serve you all some volleyball action. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, or Monday afternoon. My apologies, I'm still getting used to being on Monday, but thank you for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon. As we say hello to Adam Karnick in the chat room, thank you for tuning in. He actually asked a question. He says, who impressed you the most during the Olympics, national or international? That's a good question, and I kind of wish I had been asked this last week. I probably would say the national, if I'm being 100% honest, but, well. I'd probably say national, if you ask me. I mean, there were some international players that impressed me the most, like Tina Gradina and her partner, Anastasia. I'm not even going to pronounce the last name, but that was the Latvian pair on the beat in terms of beach volleyball, so those were a pair that impressed me when it came to beach volleyball, and France really impressed me on the men's side of things in men's volleyball as well. So there's that right there. So thank you for that question, Adam, and I appreciate you popping in the chat room. So without any further delay, let's get on into some volleyball action. But first and foremost, we actually have two sponsors. Two sponsors when it comes to this week. So the first sponsor is the Southern California Warriors, a semi-pro football team. And I actually went to their game last Saturday, and they managed to get the win over the Desert Scorpions in a 12-8 defensive battle. So big congratulations to the Southern California Warriors, and I also had the honor of PA announcing that game, which was really awesome. So congratulations to the Southern California Warriors on their first of hopefully many victories this season. Anyway, as for the Southern California Warriors, the world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow the Southern California Warriors on Twitter at SoCal Warriors. You can follow them on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors. And you can also follow them on Facebook by typing in the word Southern, the word California, and then the word Warriors. And then this weekend they play at the Las Vegas Saints. I believe the game time is at 6 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not entirely sure. But all I can tell you is that the Warriors play the Las Vegas Saints this Saturday. So best of luck to the Warriors. So the second sponsor for iSports Radio is Background Check International Business. Are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes such as identity theft or other illegal activity. You can follow Background Check International businesses on Facebook by typing the word Background Check International BCI, and you can check out their website, www.bcint.com. So thank you to those two sponsors for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. As we say hello to Larry B in the chat room, thank you for tuning in. So this is the Season 2 finale, and yes, this show has season premieres and season finales. Deal with it. So let's start off with the AVP that happened this past weekend. So I actually, silly me, forgot all about the AVP with all the hoopla of the Olympics and the NCAA season, NCAA women's volleyball season up and coming. So long story short, for the women's side of things, Teran, Kloth, and Kristen Nuss defeated Sarah Sponsel and Kelly Clace in a thrilling 3-set battle. Kloth and Nuss won the first set 21-12, but then Sarah Sponsel and Kelly Clace won the second set 21-19. But then set 3, Kloth and Nuss managed to pull out the final set 16-14. So that's their first ever AVP event, and it's a pretty darn good win. It just goes to show you that those two go great together. Like, they have great cohesion. They had great cohesion back at LSU, and now they have great cohesion now. And to beat a pair such as Sarah Sponsel and Kelly Clace, who went to the Olympics, is absolutely big. And I'm really impressed. I think the future of AVP beach volleyball is looking very bright. And I think that this is going to be a promising future. And who knows, maybe we'll get, like, future April Rosses and Alex Kleinmans. Speaking of April Ross and Alex Kleinman, April Ross did not she partook in this past event, but there was one problem, however. Her partner, unfortunately, got hurt, and it wasn't Alex Kleinman, it was somebody else, unfortunately. So the two had to drop out, which was unfortunately heartbreaking, and I hate seeing the word injury, and I think it would have been great to see April Ross, but you also have to factor in that April Ross just was coming back from the Olympics, so I guess she kind of needed a break, as well as Alex Kleinman. Hence, April Ross and Kleinman not partnering up with one another, so it really is heartbreaking to see that happen, but it's all good. Like, honestly, I think that April Ross and Alex Kleinman will be back for the Manhattan Beach Classic, which I plan on attending. So there's that right there. But back to Sponsel and Clace. I think it was a good it was a good showing for them. And Sarah Sponsel even posted on Instagram she was impressed on how she was able to. Yeah, she just posted a recap. She said, "We gave it everything we have. Second place in Atlanta after losing our first match. We battled through 6 more very hot, very challenging matches. I'm inspired by the young, fresh talent on the AVP Beach Tour and can't wait to get back to work." In other words, she tips her hat to Taryn, Kloth, and Kristen Nuss on the victory. And I think, again, it just goes to show you that the future is bright when it comes to the AVP. So, the Manhattan Beach Open is in 5 more days, as she mentions, and then she also thanks her sponsors, so that's cool. So, oh, and also today is Sarah Sponsel's birthday, so happy birthday to Sarah Sponsel, and we hope your birthday goes extremely well, and who knows, maybe we'll see them back on top. We'll see. So, that's pretty much that for the women's side. A pair who I thought had a great showing was Chrissy Jones and Zana Muno, who finished tied for third, which is very impressive. I think that pair is on the rise. Like, those two haven't really been partnered up together for too long, and the fact that they're actually finishing in the top 4 is very impressive, and I think those two are going to be a pair to watch for. And Chrissy Jones is a former Los Alamitos girls volleyball player who was coached by Dave Huber, who was on the show last week. And we talked about Chrissy Jones and how she is one of the embodiments of Los Alamitos girls volleyball. So there's that. But big ups to them. And I also got to say that Nuss and Kloth barely made it to the final as they had to outlast their opponents in 3 sets. Just going to look up who they beat in the main draw semifinals. As, once again, I kind of forgot that this whole thing had happened until, like, the Friday of. They beat Therese Cannon and Molly Turner in 3 sets. The first set was 21-13 in favor of Kloth and Nuss. Or Nuss. I keep pronouncing her name wrong. And then Turner and Cannon took the second set, 21-19. And then Kloth and Nuss took the third set, 15-5, which was kind of overwhelming. I didn't think they'd win it by that much. Whew. Anyway, so that's that for the women's side. The men's side was kind of surprising. Phil Dalhauser and Nick Lucena actually lost in the first match of the main draw, as they lost to Michael Grossell and David Vandermeer in 3 sets. Grossell and Vandermeer took the first set 21-19, but then Dalhauser and Lucena took the second set 21-13. But then in set 3, Grossell and David Vandermeer took that set 15-11 and won the match in 3 sets. So, big ups to them. Actually was quite impressed by them. Like, I understand that some of these athletes are just coming back from the Olympics, and you kind of got to give them a break, but I didn't think they'd lose that early. Like, woof. And they were the number 1 overall seed, so the fact that they were the number 1 overall seed and they lost in the first round of the main draw kind of speaks to high volumes. It just goes to show you that no one is safe when it comes to the AVP tournament, especially on the men's side. Like, obviously, when it came to the women's side last year, we had April Ross and Alex Kleinman winning all 3 events, but I think on the men's side we had 3 different winners, which was quite impressive. So, there is that right there, and I thought there was another pair that impressed me. I guess not. I thought... Yeah, I guess they didn't... Oh, no. They made the contenders bracket. It was Avery Drost and Miles Partain, who actually impressed me quite a bit. I thought Avery Drost and Miles Partain did an excellent job when it came to this event. They unfortunately didn't make it to the top 4, but I think that's going to be a name that people are going to remember for quite a while, especially since Avery Drost has beach volleyball experience, and he's a pretty darn good down-to-earth guy. He coaches volleyball at Miracosta High School, and I've met him. He's very chill and whatnot, so there's that right there. He will have the home court advantage just because the next event is the Manhattan Beach Open, which I'll be getting into that in a little bit. As for the final, that was won by Chase Budinger and Casey Patterson, winning in only 2 sets. They won the first set 21-19, and then they won the second set 21-17. And Budinger and Patterson defeated Jake Gibb, which was quite impressive. By the way, it's also worth noting that Budinger and Patterson were the number 3 seed, and Taylor Crabb and Jake Gibb were the number 2 seed, which I guess one of those two pairs managed to fall into the lucky loser bracket, and then they managed to win their way up. And it's also worth noting that Nuss and Kloth were the number 14 overall seed of the women's Atlanta Open bracket. So, just goes to show you that I think everything is wide open as long as April Ross and Alex Kleinman aren't in the tournament. So, good stuff right there. So, Budinger and Patterson had to defeat Michael Grossell and David Vandermeer in the semifinals as they won it in straight sets. They won the first set 21-11, while they won the second set 22-20. As it was a great showing for Grossell and Vandermeer, as, once again, to knock off the number 1 overall seed and advance all the way to the semifinals, that speaks to high volumes of how impressive that this tournament was. And it was a great coming out party for everybody, especially since we haven't had AVP volleyball in over a year, in almost a year. So there's that right there. So that's pretty much that when it comes to the, the AVP when it came to the Atlanta Open. And next up is the Manhattan Beach Open, which I really hope to go to that event. I don't think I'm going to be going on Friday or Saturday just because I'm busy both those days. Sunday, that's the day I'm shooting to go for, considering, honestly, I want to vlog some volleyball. Like, I really want to vlog some volleyball this weekend. Like, I'm going to be doing so when it comes to an exhibition match, but I'm also going to be doing so when it comes to the AVP. And why not? Like, I think it'll be a very fun little event. So as for who's the favorite to win, we have Phil Dalhauser and Nick Lucena coming in with 4,876 points. And then Jake Gibb and Taylor Crabb are the second. Oh, I think those are like the seeds. I don't think those are the favorites, but those are pretty much your top favorites to possibly win the tournament. Then you have Casey Patterson and Chase Budinger, then Chaim Schalk and Theo Brunner. And then we have Tim Baumgren and Jeremy Caspier, who are the top 5 seeds. And they automatically make it to the main draw. And then the wild card is, and then it's cut off once Evan Corey and Logan Weber are in the wild card. And then there's also the qualifier phase 2 and then the qualifier phase 1. So there's that right there for the Manhattan Beach Open on the men's side. On the women's side, April Ross and Alex Kleinman are the number 1 seed as they total 5,681 points. It's no surprise that they're the heavy favorite. I would not be shocked if they won. The only teams that I think that can maybe give them a tough time is probably Sarah Sponsel and Kelly Clace. And maybe, just maybe, Kristen Nuss and Teran Kloth. Speaking of those two are actually in the wild card. So I'm surprised they're in the wild card draw, which, to me, I think they deserve to be a little bit higher than that. Some other noteworthy names are Megan Kraft and Tina Gradina, who are both USC partners. And then also Haley Harward and Julia Scholes are both in the wild card draw. I think Haley is going to be making her first AVP event debut, and I can't wait to see that because she actually went to my school, Long Beach State, and played volleyball there. So, anyway, so the second seed is Emily Day and Betsy Flint, who is also in the main draw, followed by Sarah Sponsel and Kelly Clace. Then we have Brandy Wilkerson from Canada and Sarah Hughes as the 4 seed, and then Therese Cannon and Emily Stockman are the number 5 seed. And then Zana Muno and Chrissy Jones moving down to the 7 seed are locked in that seed as well. And then I guess it's also worth noting that Gina Urongo and Kelly Larson are the 8 seed. The reason why I mention Gina Urongo is because, number 1, she's a former USC player. Sorry. And then number 2, she is a former Los Alamitos girls volleyball player. And any player that was coached by Dave Huber is a cool person, just because Dave Huber was on the show last week. So I gotta show love. So I really am excited for this event. I wish I could find like what time is like what time every event starts. Like what time the quarterfinals start, the semifinals start, the finals start. Just because I want to plan accordingly and I want to get there early in case I have to like get. I mean, obviously I'm going to get my own way up there, but still, when it comes to this event, however, the whole event is free, which is quite nice. And the terms and conditions are, number one, unless otherwise stated, all seating is done on a first-come, first-served basis. Number two, there will be filming for television throughout the venue. Number three, for safety and comfort of all guests, the following items are not allowed at the AVP Beach Volleyball Tour. Large bags, weapons, alcohol, coolers, laser lights, noisemakers such as air horns, glass bottles, aluminum cans, or any beverages of any kind. So I can't bring water? I'm actually just reading this now. What am I supposed to drink? It's going to be hot. Additionally, any purchase of courtside or cabana ticketed areas have a high probability of coming into contact with fast-paced volleyballs. All patrons in these areas must be alert to avoid incident and assume their own risk by being in these areas. Number 4, large posters and banners may be inspected by security before being allowed in the venue. The AVP reserves the right to refuse admission of signage. Sticks and poles to hold flags / banners are not permitted. Number 5, the AVP Pro Beach Volleyball Tour is a non-smoking event. Smoking is allowed in the designated areas only. Number 6, the AVP is not responsible for lost, stolen, or damaged goods. Number 7, the AVP reserves the right to refuse admission to anyone at any time. And then number 8, tickets are non-transferable and non-refundable. But that's crazy, though. That's absolutely crazy. So this event is free, surprisingly. It says, general admission tickets are free to the public. No reservation is necessary. So there is that right there. And I guess I need to get a ticket, but it's free. So I guess I don't need to I guess I need to get a ticket, but I don't need to spend any money. So I better hop on this, otherwise I'm going to go to this event and then I'm going to be poorly prepared. Anyway, I do plan on going to this AVP event. As we say, what up, doe, to Marcus Los Great. Thank you for tuning in, my brother. Just talking about some AVP beach volleyball, and hopefully I'll be able to attend this event so I could do a little bit of a volleyball vlog on this, and I could catch some action and post it to the Twitter account, and, maybe catch some volleyball action. Just because it would be cool to have some live volleyball action through the Set Point account. Just because it would be a little bit original, other than me, going on and just recapping. So there's that right there. So I think that's about enough of the AVP events. So I'm actually going to figure this out on my own time of how to get a ticket. I hope tickets are not fully sold out. It looks like Club AVP is sold out, as well as the courtside boxes. So I guess it's only the Cabana suites, which I guess is the only thing that's left. So yeah, I'll figure this out on my own time. So that's going to do it for the the AVP portion of the show. So let's jump on over to some NCAA volleyball action, as the NCAA volleyball season is 1 week away, and this week we will have exhibition matches. So before we get into that, we actually need to jump on into some action. Some schedule breakdowns. So I can't believe I forgot the schedule, but I'm going to break down Washington's schedule. So I don't think I've broken down Washington's schedule, but here it is. So their first match is against Ohio, and it's going to be in Columbus, Ohio. So that's going to be on Friday, August 27th, and the times are in Pacific time. So their first match is at 1:30, and then on Saturday they play Ohio State on August 28th, which is a Saturday at 4 p.m. And then on September 3rd, Washington plays at Illinois. And then they play Iowa at Champaign, Illinois. So I guess this is like a tournament that's going to be held at the University of Illinois. So there's that right there. And then after that little tournament that weekend, Washington will head down to Malibu for the Pepperdine tournament. Washington will play at Pepperdine on Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's on September 10th. Then on September 11th, Washington will play Cal Poly at 6 p.m. Pacific time, which I think is going to be a fun little matchup. And then on September 16th all the way to September 17th, Washington will play in its own little tournament as Washington plays Montana State at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and then follows that up by playing Fresno State at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Then on Friday, September 17th, Washington plays Portland at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So there's that for all of the Washington non-conference game matchups. Then they have their conference opener against Utah. It's going to be at home on Wednesday, September 22nd at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Then Washington has its little Apple Cup rivalry game against Washington State on Sunday, September 26th at noon Pacific time. Then on Friday, October 1st, Washington will head back to Seattle as they'll play UCLA on Friday, October 1st at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Then on Sunday, October 3rd, Washington will play USC in Seattle at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Then Washington will head down to the Cactus State to take on Arizona on Friday, October 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Then on Sunday, October 10th, Washington will head to Tempe to take on Arizona State at noon Pacific time. Then on Thursday, October 14th, Washington will head down to Eugene, Oregon to take on the Oregon Ducks at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And then on Sunday, Washington will head down to Corvallis to take on Oregon State at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Then Washington will finally head back home to Seattle on Friday, October 22nd to take on Cal at 7 p.m. Then on Sunday, October 24th, Washington will take on Stanford at 1 p.m. And Washington hits the road again on Friday, October 29th to take on USC at USC for an 8 p.m. start time. Then on Sunday, October 31st, Washington will play at UCLA at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Then Washington will head back home to take on the Arizona schools on Friday, November 5th and Sunday, November 7th. They'll start with Arizona State first, then follow it up with Arizona. Then on Thursday, November 11th and Sunday, November 14th, Washington will head down to NorCal to take on Stanford and Cal. And then on Friday, November 19th and Sunday, November 21st, the Oregon schools will come down to Seattle, Washington, as Washington plays Oregon State and Oregon on Friday and Sunday, respectively. Then on Wednesday, November 24th, before Thanksgiving, Washington will head down to Boulder to take on Colorado, and then Washington closes out their season at home against Washington State in the Apple Cup rivalry. So that is pretty much that for Washington. I really think that team has potential this year, just because they are coming off of a Final Four run in the NCAA postseason. And I think that's going to be I think this is going to be a team that is to be watched for. And I think they personally can win the Pac-12. I don't think it's going to be easy just because there are other good teams in the Pac-12. I think USC is going to be up there. UCLA is going to be better. Stanford might be improved. Oregon is also really good. So I think Washington's not going to have a cakewalk to the Pac-12 championship. I think it's going to be a brutal ride for them. And with the talent that the Pac-12 has year in and year out, even with the lowly teams such as Arizona, I think no win is guaranteed for them. So now we jump on over to whatchamacallit, to Ohio, aka to Columbus, Ohio, and look at Ohio State women's volleyball schedule. So their first matchup is against Northern Kentucky. That's kind of out of nowhere, but I guess they're not playing Ohio. That's kind of surprising. I'm surprised they're not playing Ohio. Maybe they're saving Ohio for later on in their schedule. Like, I'm looking at their schedule right now, and they don't play Ohio, which, oh well. I'm not going to argue. So, Ohio State plays Northern Kentucky in their season opener on Friday, August 27th. Then on Saturday, August 28th, like I mentioned earlier, Ohio State plays Washington. Then on Friday, September, and this is going to be in Columbus, Ohio, in the Nationwide Arena. And honestly, that Ohio State-Washington matchup is going to be a fun matchup. I think that's going to be one of the top matches to watch for next week. I'll be having a better breakdown of which matches are noteworthy and to watch for next week. So once we start season 3, of course, of Set Point. So there's that. Then Ohio State heads down to Lubbock, Texas to take on Rhode Island on September 3rd, which is a Friday. Then on Saturday, September 4th, Ohio State will have the Texas two-step, starting with Texas State, and then finishing it off with Texas Tech. And then on Friday, September 10th, Ohio State will head down to Richmond, Virginia, to take on James Madison. And then on Saturday, September 11th, Ohio State will play Virginia Commonwealth. And then they'll also play the University of Virginia. I had a feeling that we'd be seeing I had a feeling we'd be seeing a Virginia school there. It's like, okay, which one is in Virginia? So eventually we saw the University of Virginia. So that's that. Then on Friday, September 17th, Ohio State will head down to South Bend, Indianapolis to take on Notre Dame. That's going to be a very fun matchup. And you want to know what's better than one matchup between Notre Dame and Ohio State? 2 matchups between Notre Dame and Ohio State. And that second one is going to be at Columbus, as Notre Dame and Ohio State will square off against one another. That's going to be an 11 a.m. Pacific time start and a 2 p.m. Eastern time start time. Now, why am I giving you all the time details? Simple. It's because that matchup is actually going to be televised nationally on ESPN2. And I am very happy that ESPN is televising that matchup. My only qualm with that matchup is that it's on a Sunday. And as we all know, NFL gets played a lot that day. And unfortunately, NFL is king for volleyball fans. So it's going to be taking up some of the viewers. But I will definitely be excited for this little matchup between Notre Dame and Ohio State. I think Ohio State is one of the more underrated teams in the Big Ten, while Notre Dame is also one of the most underrated teams in the ACC. So there's that. Then that actually is the last non-conference matchup for Ohio State, as they'll head down to West Lafayette, Indianapolis, to take on Purdue on Friday, September 24th. But the tough matchups don't stop there, because Sunday, September 26th, Ohio State heads down to State College, Pennsylvania, to take on Penn State. That's going to be on Sunday, September 28th. Then on Wednesday, September 29th, Ohio State will return home to take on Indiana, and will also stay home on Saturday, October 2nd, to take on Maryland. Then on Friday, October 8th, Ohio State will be taking on Michigan State in East Lansing. And then on Sunday, October 10th, Ohio State will take on Michigan in Columbus, Ohio. And then on Friday, October 15th, Ohio State will stay in Columbus, Ohio to take on Purdue. And they'll also follow that up with a Saturday game on October 16th against Rutgers. Then on Friday, October 22nd, Ohio State will hit the road to Madison to take on Wisconsin. But it doesn't end there. They have another road game 2 days after, as they'll take on Minnesota in Minneapolis. So that's going to be a fun little matchup. That's 2 big matches right there. And then Rutgers, they actually had a tough time closing out last season, but that was last season, so I digress. But that Wisconsin-Minnesota back-to-back, well, not back-to-back, but those 2 matches are going to be a little bit of a toughie for Ohio State, especially since they didn't get to play them last year, so we'll see. Then on Friday, October 29th, Ohio State heads down to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. Then on Sunday, October 31st, Ohio State returns home to Columbus to take on Michigan State. Then on Thursday, November 4th, Ohio State will return home, or will stay at home, to take on Minnesota. And then on Saturday, November 6th, Ohio State welcomes Nebraska into its humble abode. And then on Saturday, November 13th, Ohio State will head down to Evanston to take on Northwestern. And then they'll stay in Illinois for the second of the back-to-back Illinois matchups, as they'll head down to Champaign, Illinois to take on the University of Illinois on Sunday, November 14th. Then on Friday, November 19th, Ohio State will head back to Columbus to take on Iowa. And then on Sunday, November 21st, Ohio State will warmly welcome, and I say warmly quite loosely, they'll welcome Penn State for another Big Ten matchup. And then that actually is their last home matchup of the season, as Friday, November 26th and Saturday, November 27th, they're on the road against Maryland and Rutgers, respectively. So that's going to be one way that Ohio State will be closing out its season, on the road. So as we say hello to Stephen Copeline in the chat room, thank you for tuning in. I actually was talking a little about Wisconsin women's volleyball, as Stephen is the host of our new Wisconsin show, Locked on Wisconsin, and you can check that out every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Central Time. Yeah. And Adam says, I think the Notre Dame match in South Bend will be free admission. Oh yeah, in South Bend? Well, that's quite fascinating. Is there any reason why it'll be free admission? Maybe I don't know, but I don't know why. Elaborate on that, Adam. I kind of want to understand why it's free admission, but we'll see. All I can tell you is that the second matchup between Ohio State and Notre Dame will be televised nationally. But that's not the only matchup that's going to be televised nationally from the Big Ten. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. There is another nationally televised matchup when it comes to women's volleyball, as that'll actually be between, wait for it. That'll actually be between Penn State and Purdue, and that'll be televised on October 17th, which is also a Sunday. And that's also going to be on ESPN2, and that's also going to be an 11 a.m. Pacific time start and a 2 p.m. Eastern time start. As Steven says, Wisconsin volleyball will be good. I totally agree. And Adam says, Notre Dame announced all sports other than football and hoops will be free. Oh, I actually did not know that, and I actually appreciate you telling me that, Adam. See, I didn't know that until now, so that's actually really good, and it's quite fascinating, but that's pretty cool, I guess. And on that note, and I think that's good for Notre Dame, because that's going to be big for all the not-so-big-time sports, such as volleyball, and he says basketball is also going to be free, which I guess that's pretty cool, I guess, so good stuff. All right, so on that note, let's jump into the AVCA Division I coaches poll. So I think this is just the preseason coaches poll. I think this isn't like the true blue coaches poll, but here's the top 25. So 25 through 21, we have Notre Dame at 25, Georgia Tech at 24, Rice at 23, Pepperdine at 22, and Stanford at 21. 20 through 16, we have San Diego at 20, Utah at 19, Washington State at 18, UCLA at 17, and Western Kentucky at 16. 15 through 11, we have BYU at 15, Oregon at 14, Louisville at 13, Penn State at 12, and Ohio State at 11. And Adam says, no, there will be a charge for football, basketball, and hockey. So, okay, so good, duly noted. So that's for all you Notre Dame fans. There will be a charge for football, basketball, and hockey, but not for all the other sports. So, thanks, Adam. Anyway, so for the top 10 when it comes to the NCAA Women's Volleyball Coaches Poll. So 10 through 6, we have Baylor at 10, Pitt at 9, Purdue at 8, Minnesota at 7, and Florida at 6. 5 through 1, we have Nebraska at 5, Washington at 4, Kentucky, the reigning champion, at 3, Wisconsin at 2, and the number 1 team in the AVCA Division I Coaches Poll is Texas. Now, for those wondering why Texas is the number 1 team and not Kentucky, consider this. Texas returns all of their starters from last year. I think almost all their stars. I think they lost 1 player. So there's that right there. And Steven says, let's go Big Ten. And there actually are 6 teams in the top 25 when it comes to women's volleyball. So he says, let's go Big Ten. And you have every right to say that, Steven. So back to Texas. Texas is going to probably be the team to beat because they return all their talent except for maybe 1 player, and they also have new talent coming in. So I think this Texas team is pretty much, they're not a lock to win, but they have talent all across the board. They return Logan Eggleston, Asia O'Neal, Jenna Gabriel, the list goes on and on. So I think this team is going to be really talented. But I will say this, Baylor looks somewhat promising in the Big 12 because they have Sonia Presley, they have Avery Skinner who transferred from Kentucky, they have Cara McGee, and they also have a big freshman class that just came in. So I don't think Texas is a lock to win it, especially when you have other teams such as Wisconsin up there. Washington had a big Final Four run. I think Pitt is probably the most underrated team of the top 10. I think they deserve to be a little bit higher than number 9. I think they should be ranked above Purdue, if that makes any sense. Just because Purdue got swept in their quarterfinal match. Pitt, on the other hand, returns practically most of their top players, and they also have a few players that transferred from Penn State. So I think this Pitt team is going to be very, very tough to beat in the ACC. And speaking of the ACC, there was actually some sad news to report when it came to the ACC, that their Twitter account unfortunately shut down, and I'm very sad because, well, I enjoyed getting updates from the ACC volleyball polls. So there was that. But on the bright side of things, someone had the kindness. Someone by the name of Rick. Yes, his name is Rick. Decided to make an ACC volleyball talk WordPress website. And he also made a Twitter account dedicated to cover ACC volleyball, just because the old one got taken down. So he actually posted a power rankings preview and a season preview. So I actually looked at some of this, and I will go from 15 to the top. And so number 15 is Virginia, which they finished dead last. They didn't really even have a season. And then number 14 is Wake Forest, 13 is Virginia Tech, 12 is Clemson, 11 is Duke, 10 is Boston College, 9 is NC State, 8 is Miami, 7 is North Carolina, 6 is Florida State, 5 is Syracuse, 4 is Georgia Tech, 3 is Notre Dame, 2 is Louisville, and then the top team in the power rankings, according to Rick, is Pitt. And I understand why, because the returning seniors are Kylie Levers, Kayla Lunt, and Chinazi ND. And then their transfers include Serena Gray from Penn State, Lecator member Mana from Missouri, and that's it. They did have some transfers that went bye-bye, as Sadie Dick went to Brock in Canada, so I guess she's playing professionally. She went, and then also they had Mariha Popovich transferring to Iowa State and Zoe Faki transferring to San Diego State. So I think it's understandable to have Pitt at the top just because they're such a talented team, and I think they'll be very tough to to stop. Louisville is also quite good, as their returning seniors include Tori Dilfer and Anna Stevenson, and their non-returning players include Alexis Hamilton, their libero, and Piper Rowe, their middle blocker. And then Notre Dame, I think most people need to start buying into Notre Dame's hype, because they return most of their young players. They did lose Hannah Thompson, but I don't think losing her was a big loss. She was only one of 2 seniors on the team last year. And the non-returning seniors include Monroe Olson, which I guess that's cool. And then they got a transfer from Miami in Lauren Tarnoff. And then, like I said, Hannah Thompson transferred to Maryland, which, well. With all the talent that Notre Dame returns, such as Caroline Muth, Aubrey Hamilton, Charlie Nigo, and plenty of other players, Hattie Monson, the libero, Zoe Nunez, the setter, I think Notre Dame is I think that is probably the dark horse to win the ACC. I think that team is for real. And I think more teams need to buy into that. I am bought into the Notre Dame hype. I think that team can do some big damage and turn the ACC on its ear. So yeah, and I think Georgia Tech, it's not that I don't think Georgia Tech will be good. I think they'll be able to defeat some of the lower competition in their conference, but they're going to need to beat some of the big tough teams, such as UCLA, and then they play Arkansas, which is somewhat good, and then they have Georgia, which, that team, that's kind of an interstate battle. And then I was actually going to catch this match. They do play at Long Beach State, which is in my kind of the neck of the woods, but I'm not going to be able to just because I'm working. But I will be catching that UCLA Georgia Tech match on Saturday, because that's actually going to be a tournament match, and I think those are the 2 teams that are the favorites to win that tournament. And that's going to be on Saturday, September 11th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So I'll be there, and hopefully I'll be there to vlog on that and basically provide updates. So that's cool. But when it came to this whole little top 15 power rankings of the ACC, I was surprised to see Syracuse at number 5. I kind of don't understand. Their returning seniors are Dana Gardner and Yulia Yastrub, and they lost Ella Sada to Coastal Carolina. So I kind of don't see the hype when it comes to Syracuse. They went 7-8 in ACC play, but I don't know. Florida State has some, I guess I understand why, based on what happened with Florida State, as the seniors that are not returning are Teran, Nuss, and Jasmine Martin, and then they had quite a bit of transfers out, as Adrian L. transferred to West Virginia, Taylor Roberts transferred to ETSU, and then Amari Williams transferred to UCF, and then the only senior that returns is Caroline Golden. So Florida State looks like it's going to be a little bit down based on the number of players they lost last year. So I understand why Florida State is below Syracuse, but you never know with Florida State. I think 5 through 15 is kind of up in the air, just because you could make the argument that any of those teams could have big seasons. And what it also says in that ACC Power Rankings blog is that because of the abbreviated season, or the abbreviated tournament, where instead of having 64 teams, they had 48, Florida State missed out on the NCAA tournament. And you could also make the same case for Kansas State, Arkansas, Tennessee, and I forget who else missed the tournament. I actually am blanking on a few of the other teams that missed the tournament. I think it was Arkansas that missed the tournament. So either way, I really did not like the 48-team tournament. I think it should be 64, just because every other NCAA tournament had their standard 64 teams. It was stupid. Like, I don't get why volleyball gets the poor treatment. Like, why do they only get 48 teams? Why does basketball get 64? Why did soccer get, like, the standard 64? Why did baseball get the 64 teams? Why did softball get the 64 teams? What is so not so special about volleyball? I don't get it. And in case you were hearing some pounding, that was me pounding on my desk, because I think it's stupid that volleyball did not get the same treatment as some of these other NCAA schools. I'm just saying. On the bright side of things, the NCAA women's volleyball tournament did get some coverage when it came to national coverage, like ESPN and whatnot. Still, it does not take away the fact that I think that there should have been a full 64-team tournament. At least we get the full 64-team tournament this year, unlike last year when it was just 48. So, I digress, though. So, back to the ACC. I do gotta give a shout out to this guy, Rick, who really posted this power rankings and preview thing, and I really do appreciate him posting this, just because I really hate how the ACC volleyball Twitter account got taken down, and I also do appreciate his insight on this, so I'm excited for the ACC this year, and again, I think Notre Dame is a team to buy stock on. Like, I don't think they'll disappoint, like, especially last year when they had wins over Louisville. They also had a win over Pitt, which was very huge. Their not-so-good losses included Florida State and North Carolina, which they lost both of those matches in 5. And then what also didn't help them was that they didn't get their second match against Louisville, because that eventually got canceled to COVID, which really stunk. And I will also say that if they hadn't lost to Florida State and North Carolina, in the Florida State one, they got reverse swept, and then North Carolina, they were down 0-2. They won the next 2, and then North Carolina won the 5th set. So Notre Dame was kind of its own worst enemy last year. So, and then also against Pitt, I don't think they had the services of Charlie Nigo. I don't know what happened to her. I want to say it was COVID protocols, which was unfortunate. They were fortunate to have won that first match against Pitt. So there's that right there. So I think Notre Dame is going to probably be the sleeper team of that conference. Even though I think I'm buying a lot of stock on them. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's going to be a little bit enough about... I think it's quite enough about the up-and-coming NCAA season. We will hit the transfer news when it comes to the NCAA women's volleyball season, and then we'll take ourselves a nice little breaky break, and then we'll come back for the second half. So if I could find... Yeah, here it is. College volleyball transfers. So if I could find where we actually left off last week. Don't worry, I'll find it. Okay, so I guess there weren't too many transfers this year, or this week, or this past week. So we'll start with the two transfers. There were only 2 transfers last week. It just goes to show you that NCAA volleyball season is getting closer and closer. So the first transfer is Josanna Vasquez, who is transferring from USC's beach volleyball team to play at Eastern Tennessee State. She is a 5'10" outside hitter, and she's a graduate student. So she's going from outdoor in the beach to indoor in the hard floor when it comes to volleyball. So there's that for Josanna Vasquez. And then the other transfer is Shireen DeHue, as she is transferring from Florida Atlantic, and she'll be transferring to Cal Baptist. She is a 6-foot outside hitter, and she is a junior. And I guess she transferred like a long time ago. I don't know how I missed it. But she is transferring to California Baptist University, or CBU. just because you can't say Cal Baptist. It's California Baptist or CBU. Regardless, California Baptist has another new transfer player, and that's pretty much that for all the transfers. So now let's jump on over to the returning seniors. So for Minnesota, their returning seniors include Ari Mayayabi, who is an outside hitter, and Stephanie Samity, who is an opposite. Not returning for Minnesota are Reagan Pittman, who I believe is going to be playing professionally, or she's just going to stop playing volleyball entirely, and Hunter Atherton. So there's that for Minnesota. And I think I already went over the Nebraska players. Washington has its returning seniors posted via college volleyball transfers as Emma Calley returns. I imagine she'll probably be the defensive specialist, if not... She's probably going to be the defensive specialist, because last year that was pretty much her role. And then also returning for Washington is Sam Drexel, as well as Lauren Sanders. Not returning for Washington is Maria Bogomolova, which I think is a big loss for them. It gives them one less middle blocker, but I think that Washington is still in good shape, especially with Sam Drexel. Like, she probably has the best chance of winning the Pac-12 Player of the Year. If not, it's going to be Mac May of UCLA. So there's that. And that's pretty much all the college transfers and returning seniors that are there. So that's pretty much going to do it for the NCAA women's volleyball portion of the show. We'll actually take ourselves a quick little breaky break, and when we come back, we still have a little reminiscing to do when it comes to the Season 2 finale of Set Point, as we'll have lots of volleyball memories to go over. And then I'll also be having a little bit of what I'm going to be doing this weekend in terms of volleyball. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back and in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio, so come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to Set Point. You can catch all of our amazing shows here on IE Sports Radio. We are also featured on many different streaming platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio. The list goes on, and we have all sorts of shows for your podcast needs, such as Boxing/MMA with Marcus Los Great and Gloves Off, Baseball with Bases Loaded with Brandon Buckingham, Blake Henley, and Chris Garcia, aka Sports Brain. We also have other shows dedicated to other sports and cities, such as Reppin' to NorCal Sports, which obviously talks about Northern California sports. We have a Wisconsin show. We have a show dedicated to basketball, a show dedicated to the Northwest sports, a show dedicated to soccer. iSports Radio has all sorts of sports for your sports podcasting needs. And for this show, Set Point, you can catch it on several different streaming platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, which is what I mainly use right now, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and JioSaavn. And we are pending CastBox, so fingers crossed that we get that as well. And you can also catch the playback on YouTube as well if you go to IE Sports Radio, and then you'll find it has the playback of the sound version of the podcast. And I think it's more easy for me, if you ask me. So there's all of how you could listen to this show and all of our other shows as well. So there's that. Alright, so now we'll jump into segment number 2. And we don't have too much to talk about. I've pretty much discussed everything in the first part just because I was able to just breeze through everything. Like, I didn't think I'd actually go through everything that quickly. I went through the AVP events and the up-and-coming AVP events, then the NCAA coaches poll, and then we also had the schedule breakdowns of Ohio State and Washington, and we've only got a few more segments. We only have this one little segment left to go, and then I shall send you all on your way. So, first and foremost, when it comes to me, and volleyball this weekend, obviously I will try my darndest to go to the AVP Manhattan Beach Open event, which that's probably the closest I'll get to try to going to volleyball. I really need to get some tickets. I didn't think you'd have to go online. I thought it would just be first come, first serve, but oh well. So there's that right there. But other than that, I actually plan on attending the Long Beach State Women's Volleyball Exhibition match as they'll play Pepperdine. And former Set Point guest Steve Astor is the assistant coach for Pepperdine, and I can hardly wait to see him again. I need to get him his IE Sports Radio shirt, as well as our other guests' IE Sports Radio t-shirts, so we'll have to see. But I am excited to be having the opportunity to go to the Long Beach State Women's Volleyball match. I will be a member of the media, so I'll be pretty much Switzerland. I had the option of going as a fan, but I decided against it, so I will just go as a member of the media. I'll be neutral, and I'll be filming the highlights for IE Sports Radio, and I'll be posting some of the noteworthy video clips as well. Long Beach State did have its black and gold scrimmage last weekend, where I think the gold team won in 4 sets. I didn't go to that match because last weekend I was at the SoCal Warriors football game where I saw my boy Larry B do his thing. I see you, Larry. Anyway, but Long Beach State will be facing an opponent other than themselves for the first time since December of 2019 when they played Santa Clara. Ironically enough, their opponent in this exhibition match is basically from the same conference that Santa Clara is, as Pepperdine is from the West Coast Conference, and they finished second in that conference, so I'm excited to see what Long Beach State can bring to the table. I'll probably be covering a lot of Long Beach State just because of the, just because I have, I don't have, access, but I have, I'm in contact with some of the people there. I know the coaches, I know the SID, so they know to expect me. And I can't wait to bring you all the coverage of that exhibition matchup between Long Beach State and Pepperdine. I think Long Beach State is probably going to be the dark horse in the Big West Conference. Obviously, Hawaii and Cal Poly are the big favorites, but you can't count out UC Santa Barbara because they have some good players on their team like Lindsey Ruddins, and then Long Beach State has some decent returners like Kashana Williams. They have some good freshman players. Like, I think their team looks very promising. And then UC Davis you can't really sleep on as well, but I digress on them. So definitely be on the lookout for volleyball coverage when it comes to the Long Beach State Pepperdine women's volleyball exhibition match. That'll be on Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can catch all the coverage via Set Point's Twitter account at set_point.ie. So there's that right there. So there are other exhibition matches going on, such as the Western Kentucky matchup, aka the Bluegrass Battle. Well, not the Bluegrass Battle, but it's a Bluegrass Showdown. It's basically the Clash in Kentucky. And these two teams actually met in the NCAA tournament where Kentucky swept Western Kentucky, but Western Kentucky wasn't even nationally seeded, and they were undefeated, so there was that. Alright, so that's enough for the NCAA volleyball news. So before we head on out of here, we do gotta realize one thing. This is the Season 2 finale of Set Point. Now, Set Point had... This Season 2 finale, I think, was a lot shorter... What's the word? It's a lot all of a sudden than it needs to be. Because last year when I had the Season 1 finale of Set Point, I didn't know there was NCAA volleyball going on just because of COVID. And the NCAA did not do a good job of posting the matches on its website. But then I found out when the exact date of the new NCAA women's volleyball season was. So, honestly, it's been a fun ride when it comes to volleyball. Like, there has been a lot of fun volleyball that happened from the fall of 2020 all the way till now. So, let's start with some of the more memorable moments. Let's start with how we had 2 NCAA women's volleyball matches in the regular season televised, as Pitt and Notre Dame were televised on ESPN2, as well as Kansas State and Texas. Both actually went 5 sets, ironically, and both had different outcomes. Notre Dame upset Pitt, while Texas staved off the upset against Kansas State. So there was that. And I was happy that we got to see some volleyball coverage. That's because I think volleyball is one of the more forgotten about sports in America, especially since the U.S. just won gold in indoor volleyball, and they also won gold in beach volleyball. And as Lauren Stivern said, if winning gold in women's and beach volleyball doesn't scream that that the United States should televise more women's volleyball games, or any volleyball games in general, I don't know what will be. So when it comes down to it, those were some memorable moments. We also had some great moments of we also had the moment of Set Point making it all the way through the COVID season without having to take a week off. Like, the last time Set Point needed a week off was March 2nd, 2020, which just speaks to high volumes of how consistent this show is. And even though I've been a busy bee in my life, I still have found time to do Set Point. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I guess it's a good thing Mondays are probably my slowest days when I'm not busy. So there's that right there. And if anything, I could probably just move it to like Tuesday for the week being. So, yeah. So there was kind of another little like memorable moment. Set Point being on the air for a year and a half straight. I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's kind of tough to not find... Yeah, it's kind of tough to not find volleyball just because there is some volleyball happening. Like, whenever NCAA women's volleyball season ends, you have NCAA men's volleyball. Then, as NCAA men's volleyball and NCAA beach volleyball is happening, you have the NVA going on. And then once NCAA beach and NCAA men's volleyball is over, then we have the NVA. Then after the NVA, we had the Olympics. And then once the Olympics ended, we had the AVP. And then once the AVP ends, we'll be back in NCAA volleyball season. Now, the Olympics are going to be... Now, next year is going to be different when it comes to 2022. There's not going to be any Olympics, but there will be international volleyball play going on, such as like United States, Brazil, etc., 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 etc. Like there will be like professional volleyball going on with the U.S. national team and whatnot. So there's that right there, and it just goes to show that there is volleyball going on, and I think volleyball deserves a little bit more respect. So hashtag volleyball lives matter. Okay, but back to some of the greater moments that happened from 2021 all the way till now when it came to volleyball. Kentucky winning its first ever NCAA championship was a great moment. And not only that, they became the first SEC team to win the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship. And I imagine it would be Kentucky winning the championship first, because Florida did make it to the NCAA final, but they just could not win it. So Kentucky, in its first try, managed to win the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship, which was great for Kentucky, just because they had been long yearning for a championship in women's volleyball, and it just goes to show you that Kentucky is not only a blue blood in basketball, but they're a blue blood in women's volleyball as well. So good stuff. And then we also had Hawaii winning the NCAA Men's Volleyball Championship after all the times they had when it came to the championship eluding them, whether it was a loss in the NCAA final or just not making the NCAA tournament in general because of some weird, odd, specific reason or anything among that sort. Hawaii finally broke through and won the NCAA Men's Volleyball Championship, and this one will not be sanctioned by the NCAA, which is yay verily for them, because I don't remember which title got vacated. I think it was in 2001, I want to say. I'd have to re-look it up, but it was in the 2000s where one of Hawaii's men's volleyball championships got vacated, which sucks, but they made it up for it by winning it this year. So there's that. And then we had, in NCAA beach volleyball, we had USC defeating UCLA, which was very fun. Like, it was a great little matchup. Like, as a USC fan, I was happy that USC won, especially since one of my friends, Haley Harward, won an NCAA championship, and she did play at Long Beach State. And I knew she was going to have a good chance at winning the championship with USC as opposed to staying at Long Beach State. As much as it hurts me to not see her win a championship with Long Beach State, whether it's indoor or beach, it was better for her to spread her wings and just help USC get over that hump and get back on top of the championship world in terms of beach volleyball. I think this is their second NCAA championship, and I think it's like their third or fourth championship in beach volleyball, just because the other two weren't NCAA sanctioned, or they weren't NCAA sponsored, or whatnot. So there's that. So there's that for all the NCAA memorable moments. Then let's jump to the NVA. So I actually got to fully focus on the NVA and provide good coverage. Well, not like good coverage, but blow-by-blow updates. And I actually got to post some of the results on the IE Sports Radio Instagram and Twitter and Facebook page. So, we had the Orange County Stunners winning the championship after they fell short last year. So, it was great stuff to see the Orange County Stunners winning, especially for past set point guest Nick Amato. He got to make the all-tournament team, and his team managed to finish on top of the ladder, and that's great news for Nick Amato and the Orange County Stunners. They even got to take down the heavily favorited Vegas Ramblers, but I think Orange County was playing some of its best volleyball after week one, because they went 0-3 due to like injuries to like most of their players, but then in week number 2 they had a much better showing. I think after they went 0-3 in week 1. They only lost one match after that, which speaks to high volumes of how much improved the Stunners were. And honestly, it was great stuff from the Stunners. It was, I hate to be cheesy, but it was a stunning ending to the NVA season, and I was quite impressed. So good for the Orange County Stunners. All in all, I really liked the NVA season. It looked like a more complete season as opposed to that event they threw in like November of 2020. I'm not trying to bash the event that they had, but I think that it was just so quick all of a sudden. It was just like a quick round robin tournament, and when you get to see too many matches and too many teams showcased. And then we got to see more teams like introduced to the NVA world, and such as the Dallas Tornadoes, and I think there were a few others. I think Southern Exposure was like out of its infancy days, and they looked really legit. And I think the Texas Tyrants were another legit team. I think they were known as the Tennessee Tyrants, but I guess they changed it to Texas Tyrants, so there was that. So all in all, the NVA season was very memorable, and I was happy that the NVA season was a thing because COVID had pretty much blown away. Well, not fully blown away, but it had been subdued until the Delta variant has come. But luckily the NVA season ended before the Delta variant occurred. So let's hope that the Delta variant doesn't stop volleyball anymore. So there's that. So then we jump on over to the professional volleyball scene, and obviously we had the United States winning the Volleyball Nations League for the third straight year. They defeated Brazil in 4 sets. And the funny thing was that everyone and their mothers flipped out over the United States getting swept by China when they had won their pool, which is funny. Like, they didn't even need to win that matchup against China. They just needed to it was so funny seeing everyone flip out. They're like, "Oh my God, USA lost to China," and everyone was calling out Karch, and they were saying Karch needs to coach better. It's like, dude, they're saving their players for the knockout round, which was the Final Four. So if they needed to win that game, then I could have seen Karch Karai putting in his players to possibly win that game against China. But they had no reason to put all their stars in or risk them getting injured. So there's that. So eventually the United States swept Turkey in the semifinals, and then they beat Brazil in the final 3-1. After dropping the first set, the United States won the next 3 sets, and that was that. So there was that little great volleyball moment. And then also staying with the United States, them winning gold in women's volleyball for the first time in its Olympic history was absolutely amazing. They won in the 2020 Olympics, which was in Tokyo. And lo and behold, they actually beat Brazil in straight sets, which I still am surprised that they swept Brazil. But I guess the United States had been through a lot of adversity. Like, take, for example, Jordan Thompson getting hurt, which she hurt her ankle in the matchup against the Russian Olympic Committee. And then also, Jordan Poulter hurt her foot/ankle against Italy in the final pool play game. And I think those two getting injured was the turning point, because Micah Hancock came in that Italy game and provided great minutes off the bench. And she looked a little jittery at first, but then she managed to turn the tide and help the United States win the pool play matchup against Italy. And they also won the Pool B in the Olympics. So, and then also Annie Drews filling in for Jordan Thompson was huge. Obviously, it was a blessing in disguise just because Drews just dominated on the right side. Jordan Thompson did an outstanding job just getting point after point on the right side, whether it was on the service line or whether it was hitting from the right side. But honestly, Annie Drews coming in was just absolutely amazing. And Karch Karai, unfortunately for Thompson, Karch Karai did not take Annie Drews out of the rotation. Like, Jordan Thompson could have played the next few games, but Karch Karai was impressed with Annie Drews. And then once Jordan Poulter came back in the semifinals against Serbia, which was actually a grudge match between the U.S. and Serbia, everything just looked so much better. And then I was eventually happy for Jordan Larson of the United States women's volleyball team, as she now has a complete set of bronze, silver, and gold medals in women's indoor volleyball. And also I really feel happy for Karch Karai. For those that don't know, and I actually did not know this, Karch Karai actually had, I think it was pancreatic cancer or something, and he didn't tell anybody until he got a clean result in 2016. He still coached, by the way, but the fact that he had cancer and he told nobody about it speaks to high volumes of how darn impressive he was. And Karch Karai deserves this moment. Like, he deserves a gold medal, and he deserves to be happy because the fact that he defeated the cancer and the fact that he coached the USA women's volleyball team to a gold medal after falling short in 2016 in the semifinals and falling short to Brazil in the finals in 2012, he finally gets to experience that his program, not his team, the program gets to experience a gold medal in the Olympics. So, as for Jordan Larson, I don't know what's going to happen with her going forward. I feel she may call it a career when it comes to volleyball, but who knows? Maybe she'll continue to play for Athletes Unlimited. But if that is the end of her Olympic volleyball career for Jordan Larson, I give her a big set point salute on an amazing volleyball career when it came to indoor women's volleyball. So there's that. But all in all, when it came to the women's indoor team, they battled adversity, and they proved to everybody that there can be such thing as a good loss. Like, that Russian Olympic Committee loss was kind of the turning point as well. I think the injuries and that loss brought them more together, and I don't know if they would have gone undefeated had they beaten ROC, but it just goes to show you that sometimes a loss can be, you can learn more from a loss than you can a win. So it was very amazing to see the United States women's volleyball team win the gold medal. And then also the A team, April Ross and Alex Kleiman, won gold in Tokyo as well, as April Ross also has a complete set. She has won gold, silver, and bronze when it came to beach volleyball. And she's the first beach women's volleyball player to win gold, silver, and bronze, as I think she's also the third player overall to win gold, silver, bronze in beach volleyball. So good stuff for April Ross. And Alex Kleiman also deserves the gold medal just because she meshed really well with April Ross. The thing about April Ross is that she actually had 3 different partners when winning those medals. In 2012, she had Jen Kessie. In 2016, she had Carrie Walsh-Jennings. And then in 2021 theoretically, she had Alex Kleinman. And the A team was the golden team. So it was great to see April Ross and Alex Kleinman on top, especially for me. For April Ross, she actually went to my high school, and honestly, it really does, as a diehard Newport Harbor Sailor, it does do my heart really well to see April Ross just on top of the world. So, when it comes to beach volleyball, of course. Like, I don't know what the future holds for her in the 2024 Olympics in Paris, France, but I hope that we can see her just win gold again. And I don't know what's going to happen to her beach volleyball career, but I think her beach volleyball career is still going to be in full effect. So as long as she stays healthy and whatnot. So there's that. And then obviously that's pretty much going to do it for all the volleyball events. But for Set Point, the memorable moments for Set Point was obviously having the 100th episode. If you had told me on if you had told me on September 30th, 2019 that Set Point would eventually get to 100 episodes, I would have looked at you funny, because I, in my busy life, didn't think Set Point would get that far. Especially since there were times where doing Set Point was not really fun. But then eventually, I eventually refound the fun in doing Set Point, and I eventually managed to try to improve Set Point to the best of its ability. Obviously, I'm not the best volleyball podcaster. I'm sure there are other volleyball podcasters that are better than me, but I can say I am darn proud to have 100 plus episodes of Set Point, and I hope that never, ever, 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 ever changes. Just because I really want to keep Set Point going, just because, once again, volleyball is an underrated sport. I don't think we'll get to 200 episodes by 2022, but if we do, then awesome sauce. Like, the only way we get to 200 episodes is if I do 2 shows a week, which I don't think I will, even though I'm done with school and whatnot. But all in all, Season 2 of Set Point is coming to a close, and I will just say I really have a lot of people to thank. First and foremost, I have Larry B to thank for allowing me to have this opportunity to do Set Point. He actually was the one that thought of me doing Set Point first, and not me. So there was that. Remember, I originally started out as the co-host to Bases Loaded, and then I was also the co-host to Defining Moment, and I was a one-time co-host of Fast Break, as I eventually made my way to Set Point, and Larry B was like, I have an idea. How about, since you know a lot about volleyball, why not do a show dedicated to volleyball? So I really have Larry B to thank. I also have my other teammates to thank who tuned in and gave me the encouragement to keep doing Set Point. I really appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I love my iSports Radio family. And I appreciate everybody who was a guest on Set Point. I know I haven't really posted all the thank yous to all the guests, but to all the guests who have been on Set Point at least once, I really, 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 really do appreciate you for taking time out of your day and being a guest on Set Point. I really do mean it. Like, it means the world to me. I'm not lying. But I really could not be more grateful for all the guests I've had, ranging from high school volleyball coaches to former NCAA volleyball players, to current college coaches, to current high school coaches, which is kind of redundant. I really do appreciate everyone who has been a guest on Set Point, and hopefully I'll have more Set Point guests to come in the near future. But I won't be looking too far ahead. But on that note, that is going to do it for the Season 2 finale of Set Point. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. And just like in the past, it is that time, ladies and gentlemen, for me to drop that beat. Because, like in the past, I am about to dip like a banana in chocolate. You feel me? Thank you all once again for tuning into Set Point. I really do appreciate you all. Big shout out to the chat room, such as Stephen Copeland, Adam Karnick, Larry B, and Marcus Listgreat, who clapped. I really do appreciate you all tuning in, because without you, the listeners, and without those guys, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And once again, I definitely got to give a shout out to the listeners out there, whether you're listening in the early parts of the morning, whether you're listening on the playback, whether you're listening live, whether you're listening at work, whether you're listening at any time. I really, 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 really do appreciate you all tuning in. And I'm excited for Season 3 of Set Point. It's going to be a very fun season when it comes to all things volleyball, whether it's NCAA or professional. I'm really excited to get Season 3 of Set Point going next week. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. You all have yourselves a great week. Enjoy the volleyball that's going on, even though it's just exhibition matches. Enjoy the AVP Manhattan Beach Open, and if you see me there, give me a holler, and then maybe I'll give you a shout out and whatnot. I probably will give you a shout out, but I'll be sure to try to pop in, hopefully. But anyway, I'll see you all maybe Friday, maybe this weekend for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Have yourselves a great night, everybody. Peace out.